My name is Minzhan. This is our seminar in the fourth semester for the APCSA exam preparation class. Each semester at the beginning, we're going to have several such seminars, helping parents, helping students to better understand the classes we're offering at Momentum Learning. Here is a chart for the 2024 AP exams score distribution. So these are for the schools 5 through 1, and then percentages for these exams. Notice here for the two computer science exams, computer science principles, computer science A, percentage to get a 5. For this one is 11%. For CSA, that's 26%. Does it mean computer science principles is harder than the CSA? Not exactly. Many students actually were confused by the numbers here. Say CSP does not involve much programming. CSA actually has a much heavier weight in actual coding programming. You have to finish many projects, coding projects. In many schools, you have the weekly assignments. CSP, besides the performance task, right? That project you have to write a code. Sometimes could it be simple code? Could it be Python? Could it be JavaScript? Here you have to write actually complicated, sometimes Java code. So why this one, the rate is still higher to get 5? Well, one of the reasons would be, well, the number of students taking CSP is much bigger than the number of students taking the CSA. The reason actually is kind of amusing because many students think CSP is easy, does not involve any prerequisite. Any student can take this class, but turns out if you don't prepare well, you still don't get a 5. So the rate is low. So among these exams, besides physics 1 here, that's the lowest. The second lowest is actually CSP. CSA actually is right in the middle. And if you observe further, right, if you see here, calculus BC, the rate to get a 5 is actually 48%. And we all agree, well, most students would agree, calculus BC probably would be the hardest one, but the rate to get a 5, right, is actually the highest here. Why? Well, most students taking the AP calculus A BC class right now exam would be very confident. They must be good at this class, at this subject. So they took the exam. So the denominator, if you find out the ratio, right? The denominator for this one is much smaller than the denominator here or here. So to get the fraction percentage, if the denominator is small, right, then the ratio would go up. On the other hand, if the denominator becomes bigger, then the ratio actually would go down. The fraction goes down. So that will partially explain why this one, the ratio is high, and then here, the ratio would be much lower. All right, so that tells us, right, for any AP exam, if you want to do a 5, you still have to have plenty of practice and prepare well before you take the actual exam. All right, APCSA, if you talk about the history, used to be APCSAB. It has part A and part B. Part B is mainly involved in data structures and also the associated algorithms. That part B has been removed from the exam, so now it won't have CSA. You might be confused. That's actually similar to what you have in physics 1. Used to be physics AB. We don't have the physics 2 here. And then physics AB actually was renamed physics 1 and 2. Here, computer science AB, that B was removed, so won't have A, but we don't rename it. We don't have the CS1, CS2. The format of the APCSA exam, we're going to have 2 sections. Section 1, multiple choice problems. There are 40 questions, and we have to finish in 1 hour and 30 minutes. That will take 50% of the final score. And then section 2, that's the free response section. You have to answer 4 questions. That also takes 1 hour and 30 minutes. And again, the weight, that's 50% of the final score. Some students prefer to work on the multiple choice section. Some say I'd rather to move to work on the free response section. If you want to do well, then you have to do, in the exam, right, to get a 5 in the CSA exam, then you have to do well in both sections. Okay, why some say, okay, I prefer the multiple choice? Well, I can, I can always pick up a choice. Oh, by the way, right, all 40 questions, the answer is one choice. Different from some others, you may have multiple choices for a question. Here, all of them has a single choice, single answer. Okay, don't underestimate, because for these 40 questions, you still have to read a lot of pages. Okay, sometimes even though it is just one question, 5 choices, but you still have to read maybe 1 page, sometimes more than 1 page. And some questions you may have to read, some code that also takes more than 1 page. And of course, right there, you may have to answer 2 questions for the same set. So after the 90 minutes, okay, the multiple choice questions always would go first. After 90 minutes, many students say, okay, I'm kind of tired, exhausted. But then you still have to work on section 2, the free response section. That one actually, it's assumed, right? You have to read code. Many times would be a class, a project that partially finished, and then you need to fill in some functions, maybe some commands. So you still have to understand the whole thing, the big picture. And then here, we're going to talk about this one in more detail, but here, free response section, you're going to focus on these 4 questions. So question 1 and 2, that will be about methods, control, and also classes. So in general, how do you do the classes, methods, and also have the control? So program control, the program flow. And also question 3 and question 4, that would be about array lists and also 2D array. So that would be more specific. You're going to work on these. Of course, right, the coverage of the 2 sections actually would be the same, but then we have different emphases. Okay, in general, we think students need more practice in the second section. One thing is what section 2 will come after multiple choices. Many times in school, right, the exams would last maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. This one you have to work 3 hours. And for this exam, especially, you have to focus. You have to stay really energetic. If you make a tiny mistake reading, then your answer may be incorrect. So, well, probably right, that's the experience many students have. For all the AP exams, you have to be really strong, mentally strong, and also physically strong. If, say, after 2 hours, I got so tired, I cannot focus anymore, then probably right, you're not going to do too well in the last hour. So exercise, both mentally and also physically. The exam for 2025 would be May 7th, 12 p.m. local time. So I know many of you might be taking multiple exams. So plan well. Right before one exam, focus on it. Don't try to prepare multiple exams at the same time, assuming you can do multitasking. That's normally not a good strategy. Focus on one thing at a time. Even though I'm going to take 2 exams next day, right? Still, maybe in this hour or in this 2 hours, right? I'm going to focus on one thing. Don't do 2 things. Okay, I'm working on this one, but I think I have an idea for the other one. I'm going to jump to the other one. Don't do one thing at a time. Here at Momentum Learn, we're going to offer the prep class. Sunday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time from Feb 2nd to April 20th. The main idea, right, for this prep class is to help students to do well. Hopefully, everyone in this class will get a 5 in the exam. And we have been successful in the past several years. So that's why we still want to offer this class. And we also have the, besides the classes, we're going to also have the office hour. I am the class instructor. Many of the students and the parents may have been, familiar, right, with the USCO contests, which I've been teaching the classes for the past decade at Momentum Learning. We have also added the AP classes, not only for computer science, but also others. Anyway, so if you have any question, can always join me. The office hour would be every Thursday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time. Any question you have, right, you can join the Zoom meeting and then discuss with me. All right, okay. Talk about the goals of the AP CSA class and exam. Still, if you check the guidance from College Board, it will still be put in 5 bullets here to make sure you can do program design and algorithm development, so that you are supposed to design a program and also design the algorithm. And then you can detect or think about it, right? The logic, i.e. what is the output if you have the input here. So you're going to design the test cases, basically. And also you need to write the code. This is different from the other class, say CSP principle. We still have similar goals here, but you're not required, you're not asked to actually write the code, develop the program. Here you have to, you're going to write and implement the code that you have designed. And also you're going to test your code based on the test cases you have designed before, or maybe some other test cases that you have already available. Okay, and also part 5 is documentation. This one is actually very important. In my coding classes, I've been always asking students to write documentation, to write comments. It is a process that can help you to organize your thoughts, organize your ideas. And so also it will be very helpful for you to read your code later. Many students would tell me, say, okay, I wrote the code 2 months ago, but now I have no idea what I thought what would it do, right? I had no idea what this code was about to do. Write the comments. So maybe the code at the beginning, right, just for yourself. In the whole world, you are the only person who will write the code and who will read the code. Of course, if you submit a code for grading, right, I'll check your code. But most of the time, you're the only one who will access your code. So be nice to yourself. Why I say that this way or recommend this style? Later, if you actually become a programmer, maybe professional or semi-professional, right? You need a good habit to make sure the reader later, right? Maybe another person or maybe yourself can understand the code better to make it easier to read through. So be nice to yourself and also be nice to the reader. Right. The topics in the exam, actually, if you follow the again the guidance from College Board, the content actually would be organized in these 10 units. The units would be the same for multiple choice section and also the free response section. You also see here the weights. The weights here would be for the multiple choice section. Okay. In the free response part, right, we have listed the 4 problems in the 4 categories. You can see here, actually, they would be still pretty much fundamental. If you claim you have done computer programming in Java, then you should know these concepts. They would be considered to be fundamental to Java, and also the same. If you write in another language, this would be the same for Java, for Python. before 2004, actually, this exam, APCS AB, was administrated using C++. Actually, the content actually would be pretty much the same. Well, of course, right, we have the content that was removed from the curriculum now. So expressed in C++, that will cover pretty much the same for the basic program flow control. And of course, right there, we would add more, say, the OOP, object-oriented programming, and also data structures, algorithms, right? Those are already removed. And also the weight, like recursion, unit 10, that only takes about, right, 5%. The same thing for inheritance. This was a unit would take more weight before, but now the weight also has dropped. So anyway, you need to focus on more the fundamental parts. That means actually the code, I mean, the class and also the exam would be easier than before. So 20 years ago, student had to work harder, spend more time to prepare for the exam to get a 5. Now, relatively speaking, easier. Okay, so that's why we have the confidence. Every student in our class, actually, if you follow our steps, the pace, work on the problems we assigned, right? You should get a 5 at the end. Okay, so here are some of the sample questions. I'll just go through them quickly, not hoping everyone would be able to get it. Mainly, we're going to say, talk about, okay, that's the format. Okay, like this one, this is kind of interesting. We're going to generate a random integer between 25 and 60, inclusive. So I'm going to use the function random. So this is a function from the math class. If you know the how to use the function, then this question is easy. Otherwise, it would be a little bit difficult. So you're going to, the random function will return a value between 0 and 1, 0 inclusive. 1 is excluded. So this would be a decimal value of type double. If you check this one here times 25, so this will become a number between 0 and 25, 25 not included. And you're going to cast into integer. So this make an integer between 0 all the way through 24. From 0 through 24 plus 36. So this will give us an integer from 36 all the way through 60. That's not what we want, right? We want an integer from 25 through 60, not from 36. So this one is not right. Okay, so this question basically will check whether we understand how to use the function random. Okay, right? You need to know the how to use the function, or have you used such a function before? If you have in your projects, in your practice that have implemented this one here, then you would know the input, output. Okay, for this one, right, there's no input, but you do know the output would be a decimal value between 0 and 1, not 1, but 0 included. Then this would be easy. Actually, in our class, right, we're going to do a lot of these practice. Oh, speaking of this one, right, kind of interesting. APCSA, this one computer science class, but you take the AP exam, but on paper using a piece of pen. I mean, using pen and a piece of paper. You don't use a computer. So this is unfortunate. I've been a proponent saying, okay, APCS exams, right, should be done on a computer. So if we do such, take the exam on a computer, then these questions would not appear. Because you can just try it. I'm going to just run the command and see the value x, right? So if I see the value not, if you run this one, right, no matter how many times you can run it, right, you know, you will never see an integer below 36. So you say, okay, that's not true, right? I'm going to maybe run this command for 100 times, and observe the pattern. Do I see 25? Do I see 26? And that's all right. If it doesn't, then that's probably incorrect. Okay, so if you take such a question in on a computer, right, then you know how to do it. Okay, that's also the same. If you have done the programming a lot, as I mentioned earlier, right, if you have the weekly projects from school, when you take the class, right, then you probably have used this function a lot. Then you know how this one is working. Okay, so that's one exam. This is a typical question for recursion. So here we have a function mystery 1, and it will call itself mystery 1. Here we have another one, mystery 2, and it will actually it does not. Mystery 1 will be recursive. Mystery 2 actually does not. It will run a loop version. And it says, right, the two functions are supposed to work the same way. And you're going to tell when they're not going to behave the same way. Okay, for these questions, again, there's no shortcut. Since we're taking this exam, right, using pen and paper. So imagine you are the computer, just run the recursion manually. So put n here and run it. And then it will call n-1. When you try to do n-1, you're going to call n-2 and so on. Of course, when you do this one by hand, manually, normally the input value would be small. You're not going to check, right? Mystery 1 applied when n is, say, 1,000. It's not going to be that like that. Okay, it should be very small, maybe 5, maybe 6. Okay, the same thing here, you're going to run the loop by yourself. Again, if you take the exam on a computer, right, then you don't have to run yourself, right? Just call the function mystery 1 and call the function mystery 2 and see whether they get the same result. So that would be a very different flavor. Okay. This is one example of the free response section. Notice here, I just copied from the actual book. So this is one page, this is one page, that's half page. So this question, right, we said that there'll be 4 questions in the free response section. So to read the question, you have to read the 2.5 pages of the code. To some, this actually is easy, right? I'm going to define, so that is a class check digit, and it will end up here, start here, end up here. Okay, some parts have been implemented, some parts have not. Okay, we have these functions. Another function here, helper function, and it says maybe other variables, maybe other constructors and methods that are not shown. Probably we don't need them. Okay, and then you're going to finish the task A and the task B. So A is here, B is here. I know many students say, okay, that's a lot of information to read. Okay, this is the part I wanted to practice so that you're not going to be annoyed. Okay, actually, many of you guys already have the experience. Actually, I don't have to be very specific, right? I don't have to understand the detailed the commands or the algorithm. I just need to know what it's going to do, right? So I have such a function, helper function. I need to know what it is the purpose, the input, the output. The same thing here, input, output, input, output. And then if I need to finish something, right, I need to know what exactly I need to accomplish. Okay, here you have to read carefully for what you need to accomplish and to show, read the examples. Many times it will show you the examples. Like this is part A, and you were going to finish the function get check, right, to be implemented in part A here. And then this would help us. That's the examples. Right, and then part B would be to finish this help function. Again, you have the samples to help us to evaluate whether your understanding is correct. Many times for this part, the code you have to read would be short. many times for either parts, right? Part A, part B, sometimes maybe part C there, right? Each part you have to read maybe just, several lines. Sometimes would be as few as just one line. The longer one, maybe you have to write, a loop. Maybe you have to write a next loop and so on. Remember, right? The 4 questions, the last 2 questions actually would be arrays, array lists, and also 2D arrays. So when you work with 2D arrays, right, very likely you're going to write a 2D array, a loop with 2 layers. Okay, so you need to get familiar with the format to know the pace, right? You have 90 minutes for these 4 questions, free response questions. You need to know by when you need to finish question 1, by when you need to finish question 2, and so on. So that if you can finish each question before the planned time, then you would have the confidence. Or sometimes, right, if you think I'm getting a little bit behind schedule, then I have to work faster in the next question. Or if I work so well in the first one, I have maybe 10 minutes. I'm 10 minutes ahead of the schedule, right? Then I can slow down a little bit and then read more carefully. So you can have more practice and adjust your pace. And the good thing about the free response questions would be all the past seasons or the past years, right? These questions are available. The free response, the multiple choice questions, actually, they are not available. College Board decides to hide them. But anyway, no matter the multiple choice section or the free response section in our class, actually, we're going to have plenty of the practice. So overall, for each one, I would encourage students to take notes. If you have a success, then also write down, okay, this is the correct understanding. This is the right way to use the function, and so right. Or if you have failed, took you maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or maybe 2 hours to figure it out or debug, right? Also write down, okay, this is a lesson I learned. This was the problem, and this is how I resolved the issue. So if you keep your diary or journal book, right, for about 2 months, I'm pretty sure you're going to get all the details, caveats fixed. So every time you fix one bug, one caveat before the actual exam, then you have more chance, right? The chance will go higher for you to get a 5. And also at the end, right? If you cannot get a perfect score for any question, that's okay. Don't spend too much time in one problem, because every question carries the same weight. Right? In the multiple choice question, right? Each of the 40 multiple choice questions carries the same weight, and the same thing in the section 2, right? Every free response question also carries the same weight. So if you cannot solve one question, right, then that's fine. Remember, you don't need to get 100% to receive a 5. Actually, if you get 85%, right, out of the that percent, right, then you would get a 5 in the report. So here also at the moment, we're going to have everything stored in the Zoom. You're going to get the link here. Oh, actually, this is for 24. Okay, last year. Anyway, it would be pretty much the same. So you're going to have the link here. Click this one, then you're going to be joining me on the Zoom meeting. And the content actually would also be stored here at Canvas. You're going to see here for each week, we're going to have a module. So we're going to have the handout, we have the homework, we have the recording. Okay, all the files, PDF files for the content, homework with the answers, right, will be provided here. The only thing that is not at Canvas would be the recording. The video files would be too big to be stored here, so they would be stored at Zoom Cloud. the files here would be valid for about 3 months after the semester is over, but the recording actually would be only available about 90 days. Actually, they would remain there about storage actually would be there for about 1 year, but recording would only be available for 3 months. But anyway, we're going to finish by I think April 20th, and then the exam would be May the 7th, right? Just about less than 3 weeks after we finish. So you don't need that long storage. Anyway, so if you want to go back to check the content, the source files, the test cases, PDF files, right? All of them would be available at Canvas in PDF file or in other file formats. Again, right? If you have any question, you can always raise the issue, and also I think very effectively join the office hour. That would be more important. Sometimes you say, right, I have this bug, right? I spent 2 days, still cannot get it fixed, right? So in this case, it would be best to join me and show me your screen and say, okay, this is the problem, right? Can you take a look? That would be more effective. In class, probably sometimes we don't have time to check that. Of course, we still try to make sure that if you have any question in class, right, we're going to resolve the issues. But sometimes if the issue takes longer, right, then office hour would be much better. All right. Okay. Any question that you might have for our APCSA prep class? There is one question. How much homework? How much homework for this class? Well, every week we're going to assign multiple choice questions, and also we're going to assign the free response questions. Free response, we're going to, depending on the topic we cover in each week, we're going to assign the FRQ questions from the past years. Okay, the multiple choice questions, of course, that will come from either actually from the past. We do have several years, right? The questions are available, but many we're going to write the questions ourselves. So all the exams would, all the answers would be provided after class. So for multiple choice questions, I think you're going to spend each week, right, about 40 minutes. Free response questions maybe equally 40 minutes. So 80 minutes per week. That's not too much, because we don't want to add too much burden. Most of you, right, have been taking the class in school, so you must have the the homework from school, the projects that will be due. So here, remember, right, this class is to help you to get 5 in the AP CSA exam. We're not going to just give you too much work, just over practice so that you get a 5. That's not our intention. We try to help you to get a 5 with extra amount of work as little as possible. Ninth grade taking the AP exam in Clemens, that would be hard. To the best of my knowledge, you have to be quick, and also you may not be allowed, since this class, right, it's so competitive. The same as the APCSP class, you need the priority would be given to not ninth, would be given to 10th, 11th, and then 12th grade, because they need it. Ninth grade, you may need to take other classes, for example, pre-AP computer science. Okay. Anyway, at Momentum Learning, we try to be helpful. So not to add too much overhead, because we know all students are busy, especially junior students. Well, sophomore and junior, they're already busy. So if they can get a 5 with the help from us, right? Spend maybe 2 hours in class, and also each week, right? 2 hours in class and hour and a half after class. I think that would be nice. If a student has to spend much longer time, then maybe it's not worth the effort. Well, this is different from the computing Olympiad. That one actually only 2 hours in class each week, but a student may have to spend maybe 4 hours, 6 hours, or 8 hours, right, after class to work on the problems to try to sharpen the skills. Here, the coding, even though it is a lot to many students, but it's still considered to be easier, not that competitive. So should be easy. Say how helpful? Well, okay. Our record, almost all the students would get a 5, because we do ask students, right, how they do in the exam, AP CSA exam, and also other AP classes. To our knowledge, right, the feedback almost would be nice. So far, we have not received anyone student saying, okay, we did not get a 5 in the AP CSA exam. So we are pretty happy. Actually, we are very confident to our coverage and our training. All right, okay. So thank you so much to join us, and looking forward to see you guys in the future.